What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Facemask Fantasy. Welcome to the start of another NFL week. It's a crucial one for a lot of folks with the fantasy playoffs just a couple of weeks away. People can secure spots this weekend, most likely. Others are just looking to get a win to stay alive. It's a crucial week for a lot of folks. So, a lot to cover, and it starts tonight with the Seahawks and the Cowboys. I'll start with like a quick, some thoughts about tonight's game in general, because it's the only one on the slate. Makes sense to go into a little bit of depth as it pertains to the players playing in this game for fantasy purposes. And then we can take a look at latest news and injury updates from around the league. Thursday practice reports really start to shed light on things. So we'll get into all of that. Whether you're new or whether you've been around the block, you already know. Just as a reminder, I will get to questions after I go through the Thursday night preview and the latest injury updates. Members will get first priority as a perk of being a member of the channel. Your questions will jump the line. If anybody feels so inclined to offer a super, you don't have to, but if you do, that will be a line jumper for questions as well. And then I will get to everybody else. So appreciate everybody's patience as we work through the top of the stream. Let's kick it off with the Thursday night game. Seahawks travel to Dallas. Both teams played on Thanksgiving, so this is not a traditional short week in the way that Thursdays usually are. It is a bit weird. It's a bit awkward. These players are still off of their normal schedule as it pertains to the season, like from Sunday to Sunday, but it is 7 days of rest for both sides, as opposed to 3 days rest, or 4 days rest if you want to include Thursday before the game anyway. 7 days rest as opposed to 4 for the players. So it is normal rest in that regard. So you don't have to worry as much about, I would say, any significant changes to what the traditional backfield split would be going into this game for either team. I do bring this up, or I try to remember to bring this up for Thursday night games. The chances that there's more of a committee in the backfield increases on short weeks. A running back that handled a heavy workload on a Sunday is you really, generally speaking, don't want to give that guy another heavy workload 4 days later. You want to mix in other guys. That's not going to be the case with something like that this week. The guys that you are firing up into your lineup without any question are Dak, CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard, basically your Cowboys. I would honestly throw Jake Ferguson in here if you don't have an obvious option at tight end. You could do worse as far as chasing a touchdown. Great spot for Dak, who is on a tear. Great spot for CeeDee Lamb, who is on a tear. Pollard has been delivering in recent weeks. You fire all these guys up with confidence. And again, if you're chasing a touchdown, you could do worse at tight end than Jake Ferguson. On the Seahawks side, you probably have to play DK Metcalf. There's a good chance, unless you play in a league where you start 2 wide receivers and you've got, I don't know, any big name wide receiver plus Mike Evans or whatever. Maybe you don't play DK Metcalf, but in general, you're probably playing him. You might have to fire up Zach Charbonnet. There's a decent chance that there aren't other clear-cut better options available to you than Zach Charbonnet. He's a low end RB2, but he'll get volume, so he's got a chance to come through, but he didn't deliver in a tough spot last week at home. Um, Perhaps the matchup isn't quite as difficult this time around. San Francisco's incredibly strong against the run, but guess what? Or just running backs in general, but the Cowboys are as well. Last week was a home game. Thought that could be a bit of an equalizer for Zach Charbonnet. It was not. Um, Now he's on the road against Dallas. He should have to catch the ball in negative game script, but that's the problem with negative game script. The Seahawks, the last I checked, are 11-point underdogs. If that line has moved at all, feel free to fact check me on that one. But they're double-digit underdogs coming into this game. You expect Seattle to have to be throwing the football. Charbonnet could and should be involved as a receiver, but it probably takes away a little bit from his overall volume. I liked him quite a bit as an option last week on Thanksgiving at home with the backfield to himself. He flopped, and so naturally, I'm not super enthusiastic or optimistic about him tonight. Equally as difficult a matchup, and now on the road in a game where the Seahawks are projected to, or the spread has them down double-digit dogs. Don't love Charbonnet here. That being said, you may not have better alternatives to turn to. You hope for the best with the volume that he's likely to get. Those are the only players on the Seahawks I really want to play. Geno Smith if you play super flex, you probably have to fire up Geno. But man, it hasn't been good. It's not good for Geno Smith. It hasn't been as good of a season as it was last year for him. And now he's on game script as far as him throwing the football is in his favor, but it hasn't been good recently. Only 2 300-yard passing games his last 7 games. He hasn't thrown a touchdown pass 3 of his last 6 games, 3 of his last 7 games, excuse me. One of those was he threw 1. Turning the ball over at a decent clip. Didn't have a turnover last week, but only 200 total scrimmage yards. Scoreless scrimmage yards, not good. Hopefully you're not starting Geno Smith in 1 quarterback leagues. I'll just go ahead and leave it at that. You're also sitting Tyler Lockett and Jackson Smith-Njigba. These guys just, I don't know, it feels like they're just cannibalizing each other. Somebody here might do well, probably should catch a touchdown again based on the game script. You expect Seattle to have to throw the ball a ton tonight, not because they want to, but because they're probably going to have to. So Lockett or Smith-Njigba could come through, but between Geno not playing necessarily, well, and the fact that both are alternating like moderate, they're both having just like modest weeks every week. Lockett has had a couple of, more usable weeks recently than Smith-Njigba. But, in his last 6 games, Tyler Lockett, he's only got 2 games where he's scored more than double-digit half PPR points. It has not been the same consistent Tyler Lockett season that we've grown accustomed to. I think Smith-Njigba's addition to the offense has had a factor with that, and therefore I think both are kind of cannibalizing each other. I don't know how you're just hoping that Lockett makes a big play, and he certainly could, but they've been fewer and further between this year than in years past. So you're starting Dak, you're starting CD, you're starting Tony Pollard. If you don't have an obvious option at tight end, you can certainly fire up Ferguson and chase a touchdown. You probably have to start DK Metcalf. I don't want to start Zach Charbonnet ultimately, but you may have to. If there aren't obvious other better options, like if you're between, if it's between Charbonnet and, I don't know, the random wide receiver 3s for your flex, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Lockett, George Pickens, uh, then I guess maybe Charbonnet. But if you've got other alternatives at running back, I'm probably going to want to play any one of those. At least guys that you are regularly considering week to week. Not I'm not totally off Charbonnet. He's not a complete sit no matter what. But the guys that I am regularly considering week over week, I'm still considering all of those guys ahead of somebody like Zach Charbonnet. It's just not a great spot. And then Geno, Lockett, Smith, and Jigba. The Cowboys ancillary piece is Michael Gallup, Brandon Cooks. Hopefully you have better options to pivot to than any one of those guys. I guess Rico Dowdle is a sleeper, but I wouldn't label him as anything other than that. All right, those are my quick thoughts about the Thursday night game. The Cowboys arrow is trending up. The Seahawks arrow is trending down. These are two teams that feel like they're headed in different directions. We'll see if Seattle can or has anything to say about that tonight. We'll see. News and injury updates from the last 24 hours. The Patriots are preparing to start Bailey Zappi in Week 13. Congrats to Bailey Zappi for getting an opportunity. That's about it. Zach Ertz was released by the Cardinals. We'll see if he goes somewhere and potentially, whether it's the Eagles or the Ravens or the 49ers. Does he cap any one of the regulars that are there, particularly Dallas Goedert and George Kittle? And Isaiah Likely is on a lot of rosters now, too, with Mark Andrews done for the rest of the regular season. So we'll see where he lands, and we'll go from there. T. Higgins is reportedly expected to return Monday night. That's great news for T. Higgins. I don't know that that's necessarily a boost for your fantasy lineup at this point. It has not been a good year for Higgins. It's first game back from missing multiple weeks, and now Joe Burrow's gone. T. Higgins is a wide receiver 3 for the rest of the season. And he might have wide receiver 2 upside here and there because he's a talented player, but Higgins, we can officially declare Higgins where he was drafted did not work out. He might be worth it at a depreciated price in 2024, though. That's a conversation for another day. Tyreek Hill practicing on a limited basis. Same for Devon Achane. It's probably just maintenance for both. Travis Etienne was limited in practice today. Maintenance. He'll be fine. Chris Olave limited yet again. Has there been anything about whether he has cleared concussion protocol? The last I saw yesterday was that he was still in concussion protocol. I would not be banking on Olave's availability this week. 2 Cardinals are out back-to-back days. That's Marquise Brown and Michael Wilson. Marquise Brown being that's the bigger name here that has missed back-to-back practices. Michael Wilson has already been missing time, so we can kind of go ahead and already rule him out. Yet another week. Back-to-back missed practices to start the week. Not very good. Marquise Brown, that's the one. That's the concerning one. See if you can get in a limited practice on Friday. It's not a bad matchup either, if by the numbers anyway, if Hollywood can go, but we'll see. Trey McBride did return to practice, though, for the Cardinals, so good news on that front. And now, that job is with, I just talked about where does Zach Ertz go and potentially impact or affect the distribution of targets in the tight end room. On the flip side, Trey McBride, welcome to the show. You can probably, again, he kind of probably has vaulted into that top 8 to 10 range at worst for the rest of the season. The job is his, no doubt about it. With Kyler back throwing him the ball, and with all these injuries that the Cardinals are dealing with at wide receiver, you're looking at at least rest of season tight end 1 finish for Trey McBride. I would think he finishes the season in the top 6 as long as he stays healthy. 2 guys who are not healthy. Actually, there's a couple of guys who are not healthy. Keenan Allen didn't practice today. didn't practice yesterday. Don't go running to the waiver wire to pick up Quentin Johnston, unfortunately. Aaron Jones didn't practice yet again. Scheduled update. Doesn't sound like he's going to go for a second straight week. Third straight week? I think it's a third straight week. Jaden Reed hasn't practiced so far this week, so it could be a good week for Romeo Doubs if you need him. Dalton Schultz didn't practice today. Less than ideal there for him and, honestly, CJ Stroud. I don't know if A.J. Dillon returned to practice today. I think he did, like, on a limited basis, so it's another boring week for the Packers of A.J. Dillon. And then if Keenan Allen can't go, sit Justin Herbert? Question mark? Maybe. On the road against New England? Yeah, I don't know if I like that spot for Herbert very much. Okay, those are the injury updates, at least the ones that I saw that came across the ticker. So if any of those injuries pertain to you, let me know. We can try to sort things out. Otherwise, I can start getting into questions. Again, one more time, as a perk of the being a member of the channel, members' questions jump the line. And then I will move back up to the top. What's going on, Greg? Good to see you, man. I don't think ETN is going to miss. He practiced on a limited basis today. He was reportedly listed as limited on Thursday. That is the best case scenario here. This is probably maintenance. There's probably nothing to worry about here. As long as he is ruled active without the injury designation is removed, he's off the injury report, he's good to go. He's in your lineup. I guess you go Wilson if he can't go, but you go ETN no matter what if he does. But you can go Wilson if you have to, but ETN for sure if he goes. All right, back to the top. You have to pick up Pirine or Jeff Wilson. Pirine's got Houston. The Dolphins have Washington. I guess I would probably go Pirine, assuming Achane is back from injury. Because if Achane is back, I would assume they want to run both Mostert and Achane ahead of Jeff Wilson. I would probably go Pirine in a game where we kind of expect the Broncos to be trailing, right? They're on the road against Houston. Good offense. They lost last week. They're going to want to bounce back at home. Could force Denver into more passing situations. And that's when they're putting Samaje Perine out there for, obvious passing downs. I would probably I would pick up Perine if that is where you are at. As far as Otten versus Everett, I mean, I guess Otten. I guess I would go Otten. I think Chris Godwin popped up on the injury report earlier today. So don't love either one, to be completely honest, but I guess I would go on. I mean, the one argument for Everett is he, I don't know. Maybe he goes from getting 4 opportunities to 6 opportunities if Keenan Allen can't go. But I don't he hasn't been reliable either. And then Russ, Kyler, or you have Herbert as your other one. I might be willing to go to say I might be willing to go as far as just play Russ and Kyler if Keenan Allen is out. If Keenan Allen is out for this game, who is Justin Herbert throwing the football to? Because Mike Williams is already gone. If Keenan Allen is also out, he's throwing the ball to Austin Eckler and then some combination of Jalen Guyton, Quentin Johnston, and Gerald Everett. I would play both. I would play both Kyler and Russ. Well, Kyler might be down Marquise Brown. These damn injuries, man. But at least Kyler will run. He's more likely to run. I guess I would go Kyler. I would go Kyler if Herbert has Keenan Allen on Sunday. But if Keenan Allen is ruled out, I would take Justin Herbert out of your lineup and just play both Kyler and Russ. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. What's going on? Hey, me. Good to see you, man. Connor Browning or Terry in Superflex. That's interesting. And you need to play. It's a start. It's a start two situation. Browning, of course, the quarterback, and it's a matchup where you should be throwing the football plenty against Jacksonville. I think you have to play Browning and just hope for the best, especially if he gets T. Higgins back. If he gets T. Higgins back in whatever capacity that T. Higgins can contribute, that should help Browning in theory. That should make him, I know he's not great, but it should make him at least a little bit better. Connor has struggled over the past couple of weeks. 36 carries over the past three. This is from Graham Barfield. Past 3 weeks, he's got 36 carries for 162 yards and no scores. Averaging about 4.5 a carry, which is still good. Or it's still solid. But he's not catching the ball. And and like I just mentioned, no touchdowns in the past couple of weeks. So he's a little tough to trust on the road against Pittsburgh. They're on the road, right? I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure they're on the road. They are at Pittsburgh. Tough spot. Is it full PPR or half PPR? If it's full PPR, I would say go Terry. But if it's half, then I might say just play the running back and hope for the best. I also forgot to share this in Discord. All right, there we go. Yeah, what's the scoring? He hate me. Let me know. If it's PPR, then Browning and Terry. If it's half PPR, then Connor and Browning and Connor if it's half PPR, Browning and Terry if it's full PPR. But I think you got to play the quarterback regardless. Oh, it's full. Okay. You have Robinson. No. I don't think I want him more. I don't think I want Robinson more. If it's full PPR, I think I would go Browning and Terry McLaurin. Play the quarterback because he's a quarterback. Like the floor is just higher for him than it is for these other two guys. And he should be throwing the ball against Jacksonville. On the road, they're going to have to throw. And if he gets T. Higgins back, that's good for him. That's a boost for him. And it sounds like he's tracking to play. So while I'm not super enthusiastic about T. Higgins himself, his return helps Browning. So play the quarterback, and in full PPR, I'll play the wide receiver. it could be another game where Miami, uh, you know, they're able to. They are in a situation where they can run up the score in this game. Washington is atrocious. Miami has a great offense. Aren't they at home? No, they're on the road. Miami is. So okay. I don't like. It's a little different, but not much different. Miami is on another level. They are a better team than Washington by a significant amount. They should be able to run up the score if they want to, which means Washington is going to have to. They got to stay aggressive. I would think Terry can get a touchdown in this game at home. If I had to bet, if Terry is sporadic, he's a great player, but the quarterback, the offense, whatever, everything kind of holds him back. He's not one of the best in the NFL at his position, but he's damn good. Um, if I had to put on okay, I feel like I can bank on Terry getting a touchdown here. It's in this game at home against the Dolphins. They'll have, you got to think Miami could easily have 3 scores by halftime. 3 touchdowns by halftime. Terry's only got 2 touchdowns on the year. I got to think he can get a third one in this game. And you're playing Dak tonight. Yeah, you're playing Dak tonight. Yeah, Browning and Terry. That's where I would go. All right, I got the first question, so I'm coming back up to the top. Would I play Montgomery or Nico in PPR? Denver's been a lot better on defense recently, but Nico has been really good. As opposed to Montgomery, though, you got to play the running back. I know it's not a great matchup by the numbers with going on the road against New Orleans, but this is a good Lions team. They lost on Thanksgiving, so they actually have a mini bye week. They had 10 days rest to get ready for this game. They lost, so you got to think they're coming in with some fire in their gut. They want to get a win. They want to right the ship. New Orleans is not very good. They're better at home, but they're not very good as a team. You got to play Montgomery. Even in full PPR, you got to play Montgomery. He's on a tear. Both of those running backs, fire him up rest of season. Okay. Yeah, Montgomery over Nico for sure. Bijan's one of your running backs. Montgomery is your other running back. Olave is not tracking to play. I know he's practicing on a limited basis, but he's probably not going to play. I think he's still in concussion protocol. Don't assume he's going to play. So Amon-Ra and Sutton are your 2 wide receivers. And then it's between the other 3 running backs, between Achane, Singletary, and Charbonnet. Again, I'm not crazy about Charbonnet tonight. It's not a great matchup. However, Singletary, Singletary is a third flex. Singletary is a third flex against Denver. It's not a great matchup, but he's even with Dameon Pierce's return last week. Singletary was solid. He put up a solid day, a good day. He's still the 1A there. Bijan, Montgomery, Singletary, Amon-Ra and Sutton are your 2 wide receivers. After that, it's between Charbonnet and Rashee Rice. It's between those 2. Would be your other flex. Of course, if you choose to play Charbonnet, that would be your call as of right now. Put him in a running back spot. Don't put him in a flex spot. Leave your flex spots open. I say, I'll do this every time. I do this every Thursday. Always move your Thursday night players to a position spot in your lineup. Move them out of your flex. Use your flex for the players playing last in your lineup to maximize your flexibility. You never know what might happen. Your better option if an injury pops up might be a player that doesn't play the same position as the guy who's in your flex now. If you know you're playing a running back on Thursday night, move him out of your flex, put him in a running back spot. If you know you're playing a wide receiver on Thursday night, move him out of your flex, put him in a wide receiver spot. Rinse, repeat. Bijan is in. Montgomery is in. I would say Singletary is in. Amon-Ra, Sutton are your two wide receivers. If it's half PPR, I would go Charbonnet. If it's full PPR, I would go Rashee Rice. And if it's half PPR and you choose to go Charbonnet, put him in that running back spot and put either Bijan or Montgomery in one of those two flex spots. So play 4 running backs. I wouldn't play Achane yet. Let's see him stay healthy first. 4 running backs, 2 wide receivers. If it's half PPR, and then 3 and 3 if it's full. In half PPR, Brian Robinson, Metcalf, or Christian Kirk. Well, probably Metcalf. You probably have to go Metcalf. And then between Brian Robinson and Christian Kirk in half PPR, I think I'm leaning the wide receivers. I worry about Robinson because of this matchup with the Dolphins. He could come through at home, but if this game gets away from Washington quickly, they're not going to be running the football. And Robinson does catch the ball, but he's going to be in and out of the lineup like crazy if the Dolphins can get a quick 14 points on the board, which they could do against this team, this Washington team. Robinson makes me nervous because of the potential that he gets phased out real fast in this game. In half PPR, though, that does boost his floor. I think I would go. Brian Robinson is a little bit more boom bust for me. So I'll say Metcalf for sure. I'll say Kirk to play it safe, and I'll say Brian Robinson is your upside play. His downside is lower, but let's say he, if he is able to bust off a run or get a score, his upside is probably higher than Kirk's, but his floor is lower. So Metcalf for sure, and then Kirk floor, Robinson ceiling is how I would play it. Oh, it's okay. This is a different one. Full PPR. Full PPR. Lockett, Godwin, Cooks, Puka, Hubbard, Watson. Puka. Keep going back to the well with Puka for a couple more weeks. I know the past couple of weeks haven't been spectacular, but Kupp hasn't been great. He did practice in full, but Kupp has not been good really since like weeks. He played great the first 2 weeks of his return, and then it all fell apart. Like week 7, 2 for 29, week 8, 4 for 21, week 9, 2 for 48. Past couple of weeks, 1 catch, 11 yards, week 11 for Kupp, and then last week 3 for 18. Like you can keep going back to the well with Puka. Kupp, I don't know what's going on with Kupp, man. I mean, maybe it's just did the injuries catch up? I know he's a little older. He's 30, but like, did the injuries catch up? Puka has been better than that. It hasn't been great for Puka, but recently, but he's been better than Kupp. At least since, week 7. And even in week 5, when Kupp had a good game in his return, Puka still had 7 for 70 and a touchdown. So Puka proved that he was able to coexist with Kupp. when Cup was good. Now, I mean, recently Cup has not been good. So you can keep going back to the well with Puka, especially in full PPR. And then I would go probably, assuming Godwin plays, I would go Godwin. Even though he hasn't been spectacular recently. And he did pick up a neck injury, so I don't want to play Lockett, man. He has not been good this year. But I don't want to play Cooks either. I would play Christian Watson for the upside. I would play Puka. And then I don't want to play Lockett tonight. I'll play Puka. I'll play Watson. I'll play Godwin if he's able to play, and I'll play Hubbard if he can't. And if I miss on Lockett, then so be it. I don't trust the Seahawks offense tonight. They're going to throw for sure, but it hasn't been good this year. So I don't know that I necessarily want to chase the Seahawks passing attack tonight in Dallas. I'll say Watson, Puka, Godwin if he plays, Hubbard if Godwin has to sit. Let's see. I got through my members. Okay. This is a running back question. David Montgomery, Najee Harris, DeAndre Swift, but you have Mixon. Montgomery's been awesome. You have to leave him in. And what is the scoring? I don't know what the scoring is. Just for a little extra context, that would help. If it's PPR versus full PPR, or if it's standard, because Mixon catches the ball. So that would be helpful. Najee's been playing better. Mixon, the downgrade in the overall offense without Joe Burrow really caps him. Swift is in a good offense. I don't think I would. I don't think I would take Mixon out of my lineup. You have three strong options. Two are in great offenses that run behind great offensive lines, Montgomery and Swift. Najee came to life and has come to life in the past couple of weeks, especially with last week, the firing of Matt Canada. Najee was good, overcame these rumors that Warren was going to get the ball more. Najee still remained involved. He's going to continue to remain involved. At home against Arizona, they allow over a touchdown per game to opposing running backs, so that's a great spot. Najee has to be in, and Montgomery and Swift are just strong options in good offenses, great offenses, great offensive lines. No, I would not take any one of those guys out for Mixon. No, I would not. So you have it right. You have it right. Warren or Charbonnet this is standard scoring. That's interesting. Warren is a little bit more of Warren catches the ball a little bit more. But Charbonnet is going to have the job to himself tonight. But Warren plays Arizona, who I just mentioned allows over a touchdown per game to opposing running backs, and they just allowed Kyren Williams to have 3 in his first game back from a 5-week absence. I think you got to play Warren. Normally, I want to chase the volume, and if you want to chase the volume, the answer is Charbonnet. But even in a split backfield, Warren is at home in the best matchup you could ask for. Arizona gives up a ton of points to opposing running backs. The offense finally looks competent. It took one game. Everybody was talking about how terrible Canada was as an offensive coordinator. In the very first game after they fired him, they actually put up a 400-yard day on offense, something that they haven't done for like 2.5 years. Warren had a bad day last week, but he still got 16 opportunities, 13 carries, 3 catches, uh, over 60 scrimmage yards. I mean, that's still serviceable. On the road against Cincinnati, who still has a solid defense. Now he gets to come home against Arizona. Warren is a better matchup. He's not going to get the volume like Charbonnet, but Charbonnet is in a worse matchup. Did not deliver at home with the bell cow opportunity last week. I'm not super enthusiastic about him in another tough matchup this week. Warren. I'll play Warren. Warren and Najee are both upside RB2s this week, just from the matchup alone. From the matchup alone. Play your Steelers. Play your Steelers running backs. That's what I should say. Let's see. I got He Hate Me's question. Browning and Terry. You need 2 out of London, Javonte, Watson, Deontay. Full PPR. London's got the Jets. Sauce Gardner. That's gross. That's gross. I'm just realizing that London's going to have to deal with Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. That screams a void. Javonte is on the road against Houston. He's been tough to trust. I like Javonte, but he's been tough to trust recently. Watson bounced back nice. Had a great Thanksgiving game against the Lions. So maybe his arrow is trending up, and Jaden Reed hasn't practiced for 2 straight days, so even more targets could get funneled his way if Reed can't play. And then Deontay he's been coming through on some modest volume, not anything spectacular, but he's giving you he's giving you these floor flex plays, which are not great. You don't love them. You wish he would do more. And he should have done more last week. He had a touchdown in his hands and he dropped it. But he's got a good matchup as well against Arizona. I would say Javonte and Watson. You're sitting London on the road against Sauce Gardner. Forget about it. I don't want any part of that. Not with Desmond Ridder at quarterback. I don't want to play London this week. That's a bad spot. I'll take Javonte for the potential volume. And I'll take Watson for the upside. Yeah, I'll take Watson for the upside. And Deontay is like Deontay is like a flex floor play. You're hoping for if he gets 8 to 10 points in full PPR, it's like, okay, that's kind of what I expect. Dak or Mahomes? Man, so Mahomes has the Packers Sunday night. Dak goes tonight against Seattle. Dude, I mean, flip a coin, honestly. I mean, Dak is on fire recently. Top 5 at the position, 5 of his last 6 games. Dak is on fire. Thanksgiving was against Washington. The week prior was the Panthers. The week before that was the Giants. Going back to week 9 was the Eagles on the road. Tougher spot, but the Eagles are giving up. They're giving up production on defense. And then the Rams week 8. I mean, 330 and 4 last week. Under 200 yards passing against Carolina, but that's because he didn't really need to do that much. Still had 2 passing scores. 400 yards and 4 scores against the Giants, 375 yards and 3 scores against the Eagles, 300 yards and 4 scores against the Rams. I mean, Dak has at least 2 touchdown throws in his last 5 games. He's got 3 or more in 4 of those 5 games. Um, I mean, yeah, Dak is on fire right now. Mahomes has been Mahomes. I mean, he is what you expect him to be. 298 and 2 scores in a win. Only 177 passing yards against the Eagles. He had some issues with drops that night, so that's not entirely his fault. Still tossed 2 touchdowns in that game. Uh, um, and then week 10 bye, week 9 in Germany, again under 200 yards passing, but he had 2 touchdown throws. Um, let's put it this way. Mahomes has one 400-yard passing game this year. I thought Dak had 2. It would have been splitting hairs. He had a 375. That's what it was. So he didn't quite get it. They both have one 400-yard passing game this year. Mahomes has been under 200 yards passing 2 of his last 3 games. Dak was under 200 yards passing in week 11. I mean, I'm looking for like splitting hairs, splitting the difference. There really isn't one. I guess I would say Dak at this point by a hair. His recent performances on the whole have been a little bit better. He's at home. Seattle's a little bit tougher of a matchup. They're not the Giants. They're not the Panthers. They're not the Commanders. Tougher matchup, but Dak at home, full complement of weapons. It's not like the Packers are a spectacular matchup for opposing quarterbacks, although obviously Mahomes is on a different level. I guess I would say Dak. By a hair. It's real close. It's real close. What's going on, Iron? Good to see you, man. Najee, Achane, Charbonnet, Javonte. Well, I think Najee has to be in. Go figure. I think Najee has to be in. He's at home against Arizona. That's a beautiful spot. That's a beautiful spot for opposing running backs playing the Arizona Cardinals. So I think you got to play Najee. Charbonnet could come through with volume. Achane, in theory, could come through with a big play, but he needs to stay on the field. I kind of want to see him finish a game before I put him back into my lineup. Like missed week 12, played 4 snaps, or 4% of the snaps week 11 before exiting. Hadn't played a typical share of his snaps since week 5. I kind of want to see I know Achane is back, but I kind of need to see him finish a game before I put him back into my lineup. What's up, Jay? Good to see you, man. It's between Charbonnet and Javonte. Charbonnet will get the volume. Javonte is the better player, but he's not on the field as much. You have Achane in. I don't know if I would play Achane. I don't know if I would play Achane. I would play Najee. I don't like the spot Charbonnet is in. So I guess I'm suggesting Javonte over Achane and Javonte over Charbonnet. I just don't like the spot Charb is in tonight. He didn't deliver. He didn't deliver with the bell cow workload last week in a tough spot at home. Now he gets it again in another tough spot on the road. I don't love Charbonnet tonight. I really don't. Um, yeah, I would go Najee and Javante. At least Javante's in a matchup against Houston, where Houston's playing better on defense, but there should be points scored in that game. There should be points scored in that game. Um, so that's where I would go. I would wait a game before I put Achane back into my lineup. He's got the highest ceiling, but also like I haven't really seen him play since week 5. That's the only thing. I got some member questions to get through here. So just a reminder, I will get to my members first, and then I will move back up to the original spot that I left off at. So I will get to everybody. Appreciate the patience. Pittman, Olave, Wilson. Is this how many, Jay? Is it start 1 or start 2? Pittman has to be in, and Olave is probably not going to play. I think he's still in concussion protocol. Start 1, Pittman. Pittman. The dude's on he's on a tear right now. Smith has a tough matchup against the 49ers. Pittman has an easier matchup, at least by the numbers, against Tennessee. The 49ers can be had through the air, but the Titans are a better matchup, and Pittman is the unquestioned wide receiver 1 for his team every single week. Smith might be the team's wide receiver 1 here and there, but there are also times where he cedes opportunities to just A.J. Brown and maybe Dallas Goedert if he comes back, although that's not looking likely. I don't think he's practiced yet this week. I would say Pittman. Olave, I mean, if Olave is able to go, then we revisit this conversation on Sunday, but I don't think Olave is going to play. He's in concussion protocol. So, Pittman. Okay, I got the Dak versus Mahomes question. Lawrence or Hal? I mean, I'm going Lawrence. I'm going back to the well with my guy. I've liked Lawrence this year. Going back to like where he was getting drafted, I liked the value that he was at. He, for the most part, at least in the first half of the season, did not deliver on that, but he looks like he's coming back to life a little bit. He's had 2 really strong weeks, back-to-back weeks. He's a better quarterback than Sam Howell straight up, and he's on a team that's playing for something. The Jags are playing for the division title. You want to play. We're at the point in the season now. This goes for everybody. In a vacuum, you want to play good players in good situations over good players in not great situations. Howell is on the Commanders. That is a team that is going absolutely nowhere. They're not going to play good football for the rest of the season week to week. You expect the Jags to, though. Lawrence is better than Howell. He's put up better numbers than Howell the past couple of weeks. It looks like he's stringing things together. His full complement of weapons is healthy. I think Zay Jones is back. So, I mean, Ridley looks like Ridley's rounding into form a little bit. This is a good offense right now. Travis Etienne is playing very well, playing good football right now, and Doug Peterson's a good coach. Lawrence, rest of season over Hal. Even against Cleveland, I think they got to play Cleveland. I would play Lawrence over Howell in that situation too. Cleveland might not be as scary on defense rest of season moving forward as they previously looked with the situation that they have going on at quarterback. They're still great, but it's hard for a great defense to elevate a team when the rest of the team stinks. Just look at the Jets. Could Geno be good again? I mean, that's a tall task tonight. That's a tall task tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if we had another floor game from Geno Smith tonight. Not rooting against the guy, but it hasn't been good, and this is a bad matchup. This is a bad matchup. Dallas plays very well at home. Tough spot. Pickens, Deontay, Palmer, Guyton, and A.T. Perry. And Reed Reed is tracking so far not to play because he's missed the past couple of practices this week, Wednesday and Thursday. So that's not good. I think you have to play your Steelers. Oof. I mean, well, Jalen Guyton might get, I guess, will get an increased opportunity if, especially if Keenan Allen can't go. I think you have to play of this group. You have to play Deontay. Um, he is steadier than George Pickens. Pickens might be a little bit more flashy, but Deontay is steadier. He should have had a touchdown last week. He dropped it. Maybe he can course correct on that this week. I think you got to play Deontay. And then Guyton is a Hail Mary. He might get increased opportunities without Keenan. I think you just got to play your Steelers. I think you just got to play both Steelers wide receivers. Those other two guys, it's such a drop off week to week. Those guys, it's such a drop off. You got to just play your two Steelers and hope for the best. Yeah, play your Steelers. Howell, Russ, or Minshew? A lot of quarterback options. I kind of like Russ this week. Howell's got the Dolphins, so I understand the appeal there. Dolphins could run up the score because the Commanders stink. Therefore, Howell has to chuck it another 40, 45 times, and he comes through on just passing volume. I do see the value there. But I think I would go Russ. Again, all things equal, give me players in better in when I compare when I'm looking at this point in the season, because we can declare who's a decent team versus who's not a good team. All things equal, I'm always going to lean toward players on teams playing for something over players on teams who are just playing out the string. Russ and the Broncos are playing for something. They might make the playoffs. The Commanders are not going to make the playoffs, mostly because they're bad. All things equal, I want players in better situations than players that in less than ideal situations. I'll say Russ. And I know I kind of just like ruled Minshew out there. I know Minshew has been solid. But Russ versus Minshew. I think Russ just has more week to week upside. Although Minshew is on like a stupid rate of picking up rushing scores, which I guess he might continue to do if Jonathan Taylor is out. He has he had one rushing score last week, and he had two week 7 against Cleveland. He hadn't had another one since then. So yeah, I mean Minshew's numbers have been there at the end of the day. But his floor is lower than Russ's. And in that game where there could be points scored, the Broncos have to go on the road and be aggressive. The Colts have to as well, but that's a division game, which makes that situation a little hairier for me as far as Minshew. I'll say Russ. Going on the road, have to be aggressive against a good offense. I'll say Russ. And then Warren, Kirk, or Deontay in half PPR. Warren. I know he didn't have a great week last week, but he still got 16 touches. And he's going up against the most favorable opponent for running backs this year. The Arizona Cardinals are getting killed on the ground, averaging over a touchdown allowed per game. I mean, Najee and Warren could both score in this game. Probably should both score in this one. I'll take Warren. The upside is still there for big plays. See, actually, it's even more so now that Canada is gone. In their first game without Matt Canada, the Steelers had a 400-yard output on offense. Go figure. That goes to show you that coaching matters, and when you have a bad coach, it hurts. Warren, his upside is higher now with Matt Canada gone. Vodka or whiskey tonight? Hey, you put a little club soda in the vodka. Um, Shit. Sometimes I put club soda in the whiskey too. I don't really care. Uh, Alky's alky. I'll do a little bit of, but I prefer the whiskey. I prefer the whiskey. Solid question though. These are the important details. Would I start Reed over Cup? Reed needs to play first. He's missed practice the past couple of days. I understand the frustration with Cooper Cup, but I don't know. I guess he sounds like he's optimistic about soothing up, but he's not practicing. This is a tough matchup against the Chiefs. And he doesn't play until Sunday night. So if you wait on him and if he's a surprise inactive, then what do you do? I think you have to play Cup. I think you have to play Cup. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. It has been a drop off of over the past 6-7 games, 5 or 6 games for Cooper Cup. The fall from grace is not pretty. And I'm not saying that he's done, but it doesn't look great right now. It doesn't look great right now. But that being said, I mean, I think I would play Cup assuming he's healthy. I don't want to be caught empty-handed if I wait until Sunday night and Jaden Reed gets ruled out with this chest injury that he's been playing through, but he's missing practice because of it. I know he's on a recent heater. But yeah, I don't know. The missed practices, at least right now, as of tonight, they got me a little concerned about his availability. Mostert, Moss, Garrett Wilson, Metcalf, the running backs, the running backs. Yeah, for sure. I mean, Mostert saved a lot of people's seasons. Let's be honest with the season that he's been having. Nothing scary about the matchup against Washington. They stink on defense at every level. So you're firing up Mostert even with Achan back. And Zach Moss is a must start this week. Zach Moss is a must start as long as Jonathan Taylor is out of the lineup. So if that's this week, Zach Moss is a must start this week. If that's next week, Zach Moss is a must start next week. He was the RB6 in points per game earlier this year when Taylor wasn't playing. I looked at the numbers. I wasn't making any definitive declarations last night. If anybody caught me for the stream last night, I wasn't. I kind of wasn't entertaining Zach Moss start sick questions. The news had just happened. Not just happened, but I didn't like on a Wednesday trying to make any calls about do I start this guy over this guy without a game having to be played. Having had a chance to look at the numbers, look at the situations, and kind of be able to take a look at the time to, okay, what did Zach Moss do in Jonathan Taylor's absence at the beginning of the season? Just as a reminder, I knew it was good, but how good? Um, RB6 in points per game without Taylor at the beginning of the season. Definitively, I will say it now. Zach Moss is unless your running backs are, you know, if you've got Christian McCaffrey and Travis Etienne and I don't even know who, like another stud, um, you got to fire up Zach Moss. My point being, Zach Moss has to be in lineups. When Jonathan Taylor is out, Zach Moss needs to be in. So those two running backs, Mostert and Moss. If it's full PPR, there's an argument for Garrett Wilson, but I think I would go the running backs. Kyler this week, I mean, he's perennially now like he's top 10 at the quarterback position, even if there are guys banged up on the offense. Now, when I say top 10, he might be 10th. Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, Tua, Stroud. Allen's on bye. Lamar is on bye. Hurts, Tua, Dak, Mahomes, Lawrence, Stroud. I guess I'll put Purdy up there because of the matchup. Those are the guys so maybe I got Murray like eighth or ninth, somewhere in there. Top 10 quarterback, top 10 option. You're firing him up if you have him, even with the injuries, even with Hollywood potentially being down for the count. Michael Wilson not looking likely to make his return. Trey McBride practiced today on a limited manner, so that's good. And Kyler himself, of course, will run. Plus, he still has, all-world talent Greg Dortch to throw the football to. So we're all easy peasy over here on the Kyler train. Kyler's a top 10 option this week, and I would probably, now that I think about it, I would probably put him like 8th or ninth. I don't know that Jordan Love is the cutoff. Like, where do you rank Kyler versus Jordan Love? Love's at home, so maybe he's in a slightly better spot, but I would put Kyler over Justin Herbert this week. Is Keenan Allen going to play? Actually, let me get an update on that. Yeah, we need Keenan Allen to practice in a limited fashion tomorrow, or that's not good. If Keenan Allen has to miss, Justin Herbert falls out of the top 12 options at quarterback for me. So if that happens, then yeah, Kyler's probably like 8th or ninth for me this week. That's a good collection of wide receiver talent. Nicely done. Hopefully the problem with Justin Jefferson is just that you have been able to rely on him for the past month. So hopefully you're still in pole position to make the playoffs regardless. Would I start Kyler over Hal? Probably. I know that, yeah, Hal can come through on volume, and he's at home, so he should be fine. It's not a great spot for Arizona. They're on the road against Pittsburgh. That just, on paper, it's a mismatch. The Steelers are playing better. Their defense could make things problematic for the Cardinals offense. I get all of that. Kyler will run. So I like his upside there. He's getting goal line opportunities. He's still shaking off the rust. He missed a year's worth of time. Um, he hasn't looked spectacular from the pocket, but he's getting better. Each week he will continue to improve. Um, I think I would lean Kyler over Howell, because of the rushing X factor. Yes, Howell will throw the ball a ton. He will. He's probably I would say he is the ceiling play, but he's the floor play as well. Kyler is just a better quarterback than Sam Howell. Sam Howell is in a great spot to put up big numbers, but will he? Kyler is the better quarterback. Kyler is just straight up the better quarterback. So, yes, I would go Kyler. Hey, Bobby, appreciate the super. Very kind of you. Thank you so much. Man, it's late over there. What time is it in England? It's got to be midnight, right? 7, 5. Yeah, it's after midnight. Dang. You staying up for this game? It's going to be a late one. But anyway, let's get to this question. Thank you again for the super. You need 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a flex. You need the lineup. Bijan, Swift, Rashad, Dillon, and the Packers running back. So you're using all 3 of those running backs. Bijan, Swift, Rashad White. You're using all 3 of those running backs, hands down. Not the Packers. Not the Packers running backs. Aaron Jones is probably not going to play. A.J. Dillon is not good. I understand why you have him because you have Aaron Jones, so handcuff situation. But you're keeping both of those guys on the bench. Bijan, Swift, and Rashad are your 2 running backs and your flex. Your 2 wide receivers. If Keenan Allen plays, you're playing him, but he's missed practice the past couple of days. We need to see him practice in a limited fashion tomorrow to feel better about him. So we don't know that we're going to have Allen. London is on the road against the Jets, and that means he's going to see Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. So no thanks. Watson had a really strong Thanksgiving last Thursday, so his arrow's ticking up. And he should be fine at home. And then Pickens has been trending down the past couple of weeks. Hollywood has missed the past couple of practices. If Keenan Allen can play, you're playing Keenan Allen. But if Keenan Allen has to sit, I would go Watson and I would go Pickens. Watson for the upside and Pickens, I guess, for more upside. You're hoping he can make a big play. I don't trust Drake London, not because Drake London is a better wide receiver than George Pickens is. He's better than Christian Watson, too. He's a better player than both of these guys. He's better than Watson. He's better than Pickens, but he's in far and away the worst situation. Bad quarterback, horrific matchup on the road against Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. I am moving off of London in all formats, any way, shape I can this week. I do not want to play him. The only Falcon I want to play is Bijan. That's it. So I would go Watson and Pickens unless Keenan Allen can play. Then I would go Allen and Watson. Your tight end is McBride. And as far as the defense goes, the Chargers are in a good matchup, but by the numbers, and they'll probably see Bailey Zappi, so that's a good spot for them. But they're the Chargers, and they stink. And they might not have Joey Bosa. I would probably play the Chiefs. Not because they are in a better spot, but because I believe in them as a team more. I believe in the Chiefs. You want a defense that's playing with a lead. If a defense is playing with a lead, it increases the likelihood that they can get sacks and force turnovers. Who do you trust more to have a lead, the Chiefs or the Chargers? I'll take Patrick Mahomes. I'll take the defense that is supported by Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, not the defense that is supported by Brandon Staley, who's supposed to be a defensive coach, but his defenses perennially suck. by the numbers anyway. Bijan, Swift, Rashad White, Allen if he plays, Watson no matter what, Pickens if Allen can't go, McBride, Chiefs defense. Appreciate the super. Thank you so much. And you're thinking about Love or Bryce Young this week? Love. Don't. We're not playing Bryce Young. We're not playing Bryce Young anywhere. We're not playing Bryce Young anywhere. You're playing Jordan Love. I'll play Bryce Young if I can get him in a game against North Alabama back in the SEC. I'm not playing Bryce Young in any fantasy format anywhere, no matter what the circumstances is right now. There is absolutely no way. There's absolutely no way. You're playing Jordan Love. Yeah, have faith in your guy. Have faith in the guy that you, especially when it's clear cut. Well, this one is as clear cut as it gets. Like, believe in the guy that is on your team over the guy who you have no reason to have any faith in Bryce Young. But appreciate the super again. Thank you so much. You're leaning Russ over Kyler. It's not crazy. I get it. I like Russ this week, but Kyler's the better player, and as of right now, the better athlete. Therefore, I trust him as a runner more than I trust Russ. Russ is still picking up 30 yards a game or so. Like, he's still doing it in that regard a little bit, but Kyler is the more electric runner than Russ at this point in their careers. And he's got a rushing touchdown in 3 straight games. So that's pretty good. I like Kyler. I like Kyler this week. I like Kyler this week. Charbonnet or Sutton? Man, in full PPR, I would go Sutton. I don't love the spot that Charbonnet is in tonight. I really don't. On the road against the Cowboys, that is a tough matchup. That is a tough unit. Charbonnet had another tough spot last week. He did not deliver. I know he's got the backfield to himself, but I don't like the Seahawks offense right now, and I do not trust them to deliver enough consistency for me to feel good about firing up Charbonnet tonight. I would say Sutton. He is on the other end of the spectrum. The Broncos are playing well on offense right now. They're playing good, and Sutton is the team's wide receiver 1, not Jerry Jeudy. I was wrong about that one. Sutton's having a great season. I'll take Sutton. I am not crazy about Charbonnet tonight. I'm really not. If you want to fire Charbonnet up, that is your prerogative. I was advocating for it on Thanksgiving. I am not advocating for it tonight. So, Jay, just to jump down to one of my members, Charbonnet, Singletary, or Hubbard, I would say I would probably go Singletary. I would probably go Singletary. He's at home. He's in a better offense. The Texans are a better offense than the Seahawks right now. You feel more confident in CJ Stroud than Geno Smith for sure. And Singletary, even in Dameon Pierce's return last week, still had a solid day. Better than Charbonnet's with a full workload. Singletary only had 6 carries for 18 yards, but he caught 6 balls for 54. I mean, you figure there's potential for more points to be scored in this game against the Broncos, who are coming in on a little bit of a streak here. So, I mean, this could be a decent game. We looked at this one on paper at the beginning of the year, and it was just like Houston, Denver, screw that game. I'm not watching that game. That game's going to suck. That game might be decent. because of the offenses. Charbonnet is there. The Seahawks are not playing well right now, and this is a bad matchup on paper. I just don't have much confidence, so I'll say Singletary and not Chuba Hubbard. I want absolutely nothing to do with the Carolina Panthers. The only thing I want to have something to do with Carolina right now is if somebody could airmail me some barbecue. Other than that, I want nothing to do with the Carolina Panthers. Pass, pass, pass. Am I adding Darren Waller in any leagues? I mean, if he was dropped and you don't have other alternative options, you can take a look at it. But I mean, I just don't know what we can expect from him at this point with the offense and the state of affairs that it is. He was doing well to start the season, but then, picked up the injury, had to go on IR, and the next thing you know, the Giants season is over with Waller coming back. They're 4-8 with Tommy DeVito. We're doing a lot of this. That's fun. That's awesome. But the Giants still stink. Now he's got to catch passes from Tommy DeVito. Remember the reason we were getting so hype about Darren Waller, aside from Darren Waller being a good player, is because he looked like the obvious guy to absorb the most targets in this offense for Daniel Jones. And then all we heard all summer was how good their chemistry is. Well, Daniel Jones is gone. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but what I do know is with Daniel Jones, Darren Waller had 3 top 8 tight end weeks on the season in 8 games. That's pretty good for tight ends in general. So you could add him if you don't have another obvious option at tight end, but like I'm not super enthused. He's kind of like it's like the T Higgins of tight ends for me right now. It's like, yeah, he's a good player, but he hasn't had. I mean, he's had an up and down season, and now he's missed time due to injury. He's had an up and down season, and now his quarterback is gone. Like, how excited can I get? But sure, you can give it a whirl if you don't have another obvious option at tight end. You can give him a try. It won't hurt anything. Tight ends are unless you have a top 5 option, tight ends are a barren wasteland. So yeah, I mean, he's worth a flyer. I just don't know how much I can't exactly give him a vote of confidence though. Is it fine to play? Oh, is it fine to play a quarterback against your defense? Yeah. Okay. So that is it's a little weird, right? It's a little hairy. It kind of feels funky. Like, all right, I don't necessarily want to do this because if my quarterback throws a touchdown against my defense, my opportunities are capped. So if Love is your clear and obvious best option, like you can pivot to the Chargers, but in this scenario, I think it's fine because the Chiefs are good enough. Like both situations, both Love and the Chiefs defense are capable of delivering good performances in spite of each other. Like if Love tosses 2 scores and is able to run for 40 or so yards or whatever, get himself 15, 16, 17 points, but the defense gets a couple of sacks, um, it's annoying, it's frustrating, but I think in this scenario, I think there's enough of a difference between the Chiefs and the Chargers where I think that's where I would go. It feels a little gross, but I think in this situation, I think I would do it. I think I would play Love, and I think I would play the Chiefs defense and just hope that they are able to deliver despite having to go against each other, not just on the field, but in your lineup. I think I would just play both. And then a defense to start this week. I mean, of those options, like, are the Colts available? um, I don't know. Is Jacksonville available? Is Jacksonville available? They're playing Browning at home. Are either of the LA teams available? Are the Rams available? Are the Chargers available? Like New Orleans, no, I don't want to. I don't want to play. Well, certainly not the Panthers. I don't want to play the Bengals. I don't want to play the Lions on the road against the Saints. Like, I guess I really don't want to play the Saints. I don't want to play Tennessee against Indy. Yeah, I don't want to play any of these teams. Maybe New England. Like, I guess if the Rams are not available, if the Jaguars are not available, if the Colts are not available, then I guess I would say the Patriots. Because at least they're at home and they are holding teams to not a ton of points scored the past couple of weeks. They could be getting the Chargers without Keenan Allen, so that would help them. Like, of those options, the Patriots. But I'm hoping for your sake that the Colts are available or the Jaguars are available or either one of the LA teams, the Chargers or the Rams. But if not, I guess I would say New England. It's not great, but of that group, I guess that's where I would go. You have Dak in over Geno. That's the right call. We're not starting. If you have Dak, you're not starting. You're probably not starting anybody else unless you have Jalen Hurts or I guess maybe Tua. But at this point, I don't know that I would start anybody else over Dak other than Jalen Hurts. And that slightly, very slightly, but slightly includes Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, you're firing Dak up no matter what. My thoughts on Aaron Rodgers, we'll see him in 2024. We'll see him in 2024. Why would you put him out there? And I don't think they will. I think this is just like maybe this is a morale booster for the Jets. Maybe. But what are they? 4-7? Isn't that what their record is? Are they 4-7? I mean, they're not in the playoff race. They might get a win against the Falcons. The Falcons stink too. But I mean, 4-7. They're behind the Raiders. They're behind the Bengals, who don't have a quarterback. There's 11 teams. There's 10 or 11 teams in the conference that they have better records than the Jets. The Jets are not in it right now. Why would you're not putting Aaron Rodgers out there for these last 6 games? There's no way. Off a torn Achilles, like less than 100 days later? No shot. No shot. It's too soon. It's way too soon. We'll see him in 2024. Should you start Charbonnet tonight? You have Singletary. I assume that means you have Singletary and Ford in there over him right now. If that is the case, I would keep it that way. If that's the case, I would keep it that way. Singletary's been playing well. He delivered as a receiver last week, even in Dameon Pierce's return. Broncos are playing better on defense, but it's a home game for Houston, so I feel fine about Singletary versus Charbonnet on the road against the Cowboys. I am not optimistic about that. And then Ford should be fine as well. He continues to get decent work. The Browns will continue to run the ball as much as they possibly can, dealing with all these backup quarterbacks, whether it's Joe Flacco or PJ Walker, or if Dorian Thompson-Robinson can get healthy, or one of us steps in as Browns quarterback, we're just gonna hand the ball off to Jerome Ford and maybe Kareem Hunt. And nothing super scary about the matchup against the Rams. I mean, Aaron Donald is there, but Cleveland runs the ball well, so they should be fine. I would leave that as is. I would not put Charbonnet in over those two guys. Full PPR start 3. I'm on Ra in Wilson down Sutton. Sutton is in. He's playing great. It's Downs versus Wilson. I mean, I'll chase the talent, even though the situation sucks with Tim Boyle. I'll just go with Garrett Wilson. You're going with Amon Ra, who obvious. You're going with Sutton, who I think is obvious at this point. And I'll take the talent. I'll bet on the talent and Garrett Wilson over Downs. Nothing super scary about Atlanta's defense, and they're at home. Tim Boyle was able to get a touchdown to Wilson on Black Friday, so maybe he can do it again. One running back, one flex, Javonte, Singletary, Charbonnet, Metcalf. What's the scoring? I would say Singletary probably has to be in, and then if it's full PPR, I would go Metcalf in the flex. If it's half PPR, I would go Singletary and Javonte Williams. Full PPR, okay. That does, probably factor in a little bit more. That being said, running backs are still guys that you want to lean on for the perceived and potential volume. I think Singletary has to be in. It is not a good matchup for DK Metcalf tonight. And the Seahawks offense is a mess right now. I would go Metcalf over Javonte Williams in full PPR. I'll chase the volume of DK Metcalf. The Seahawks are double-digit underdogs on the road against Seattle. You would expect them to throw the ball. Even if game script goes unexpected and the Seahawks have a lead, they should still be throwing the ball. They're not going to be able to take their foot off the gas. You have to stay aggressive on the road, especially when you're double-digit underdogs. Javonte continues to get his usage. It's broken up in a frustrating way with Jaleel McLaughlin getting in there, Samaje Perine getting in there. Williams is the best player in that backfield, but he's in a committee, a three-way committee. At least Singletary only has to fend off Dameon Pierce for opportunities. Singletary and Metcalf. But put Metcalf in a wide receiver spot. Don't leave him in your flex. Unless your other wide receivers are CeeDee Lamb and Tyler Lockett, and everyone's playing tonight. Always, 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 if you have Thursday night football players, put them in a position spot, take them out of the flex, leave your flex for another player playing on Sunday or Monday, maximize your flexibility. See, did that. Nicely done. Yep, that's where I'll go. Metcalf in full PPR and just chase the volume. Let's hope that all the throws that Seattle needs to make tonight hits for Metcalf, and then I'll take Singletary over those other running backs. Charbonnet or Brian Robinson in full PPR. Man, Robinson is a flex play. Charbonnet is. They're both flex plays as far as like expectations. Charbonnet is more likely to catch passes as out of the backfield than Robinson, although Robinson has gotten involved this year as a pass catcher. I bring this up because we expect Washington to get blown out. Therefore, do Antonio Gibson and Chris Rodriguez mix in a little bit more at the expense of Brian Robinson? I don't like the spot that Charbonnet is in tonight. I don't. But in full PPR, where it's more likely that Charbonnet will get some receiving volume than Brian Robinson, I will say go Charbonnet. Brian Robinson might have a higher ceiling. Charbonnet is your floor play. Brian Robinson is your all or nothing play. Robinson's ceiling might be higher than Charbonnet's, but I would bet his floor is lower. So he's the more volatile boom bust play, I would say here. Whereas Charbonnet might give you a little bit of stability, like a little bit of a decent floor play with volume. Robinson's ceiling is higher if you think you need upside in a situation where maybe you're an underdog. You're looking at your situation and you feel like your team has an uphill battle against your opponent. If you want to pick up the Colts, Bobby, that's fine. You can pick them up and drop the Chargers, and that's not as far off as a drop off for me with them playing they'll play Will Levis. That's a good matchup. That's a favorable matchup. If you want to put the Colts in there over the Chargers, I'm fine with that. Or drop the Chiefs for the Colts and put the Colts in over the Chiefs. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that pivot. I'm okay with that pivot. What's going on, Nate? Good to see you. I am actually at the end of the chat. I'll stick around. We got about 40 minutes, 45 minutes until kickoff. So we do got a little bit of time here. I can hang around for a little bit longer if anybody else has anything going on as it pertains to this game. Start sit questions as it pertains to Cowboys Seahawks. I'll just run through my thoughts again really quickly. Dak is a must start. Dak is like the QB 2 or 3 for me at this point. Jalen Hurts is the only clear-cut guy ahead of him for me. Maybe Tua, maybe Mahomes, but honestly, I can see putting Dak over both of those guys. The only guy for fantasy purposes I would start over Dak definitively is Jalen Hurts. Dak is a must start right now. CeeDee Lamb is a must start right now. Tony Pollard is a must start right now. If you're chasing touchdowns, Jake Ferguson is a fine guy to fire up, assuming you don't have a better option at tight end. But he is a tight end, therefore he is highly volatile. His floor is low. Metcalf is fine to fire up, especially in PPR leagues. I don't trust Lockett or Smith and Jigba. One could go off given the likely game script, but guessing which one is, that's a fool's errand. Don't trust Geno. I have a hard time trusting Zach Charbonnet, even with getting all the backfield work to himself tonight. Maybe he comes through with some volume. Not sure. I don't know that I have full trust in that. Nate, what? You left your league mid-season? What happened? Well, yeah, I saw what happened? Are you not currently in a league? Because there should certainly be, I mean, there will be Facemask fantasy leagues at the start of next year. Assuming I have the member count. Some folks drop off as members after the season, which makes sense. The content thins out. You're only really interested if you play Dynasty. But if I do have the numbers, I will have Facemask leagues next year. So those will certainly be open pending I was not able to run any stream leagues this year. I had to build back the member count a little bit. So if anybody's interested, wants to stick around and hang on as members throughout throughout the off season, we can get that set up. I can get leagues set up. I'm sorry to hear that you had to leave a league. That's not how it should be. At the end of the day, I mean, we talk trash. I talk shit to my friends all the time, and vice versa. They do the same thing. But it's all in fun. It's all in good fun. We don't come away from a matchup or a win or a loss. We don't. There's no animosity there. It's just, we'll talk shit, but outside of the game, that's it. That's where it stays. That's where it should stay. Especially with your friends. That's not cool. I'm sorry to hear that. I'll get leagues set up if I do have as of right now, as of today, I do have the member count to set up Facemask fantasy leagues for the 2024 season. So if I'm able to get folks to stick around, if you think enough of the stream and the channel to want to stick around, there will be leagues set up for the 2024 season. So I can certainly help placate that at least a little bit. Might not be the same. The stakes aren't going to be as high. But I will have leagues set up for folks who want to stick around as members of the channel. And if you might be interested, there are details about that in the first link in the description of this stream if you're interested. Yeah, that's not cool. That's not how it should be. So it sounds like while it sucks right now that you can't finish out the season, or you didn't feel like you could finish out the season. I mean, that's not how it's supposed to be, especially with people it's supposed to be all in good fun at the end of the day. So, yeah, if people can't control themselves, like, yeah, step away from toxic situations. That sucks. That's not how it should be. I talk shit to my friends all the time. They talk shit to me too. Sometimes it's respectful. Sometimes I'm like, I'm not in the mood to like actually be that person. Sometimes after a win, I'm like, hey, good match. Like I'm not, it depends on the situation. But yeah, that's where it's supposed to stay. Well, next year. We got a good league. We got a good league together next year. Lockett or Christian Watson in standard scoring. Um, Lockett goes tonight, of course, versus Watson, who came to life on Thanksgiving. I would take the upside in Christian Watson. I don't like the spot that Lockett is in. Dallas plays, it's a tough matchup for Lockett. He hasn't been himself this year. Smith and Jigba has probably cannibalized Lockett a little bit and vice versa. Christian Watson, meanwhile, came to life on Thanksgiving. He is his team's wide receiver one when healthy. And the Packers are going to have to throw against the Chiefs at home again in Lambeau to keep pace in that game, most likely. Packers are in the playoff race, too. The Seahawks are as well, but they're trending down right now. The Packers' arrow, at least after a win on Thanksgiving against Detroit, their arrow is pointing up at least a little bit. I'll take the upside in Watson. I'll take the upside in Watson. Finally went off. Good to see that you paid. Yeah, that's. I know sometimes patience is a bitch in this game. I know it's so tough to want to stick to. You want to move on from people, but you don't because you believe in them. There's a reason you invested in them in the draft, or whether you acquired them in a trade or as an acquisition on the waivers. Like you want to believe in the guys on your team. So it's nice to see patience pay off because it can be a real pain to try to work through. When you see other guys not on your team playing better. And it's just like, I need performances now. I can't be waiting on y'all. So that's good to see. Some guys are worth just trying to hang on for and see what happens. So I think Watson can be fired up at home against the Chiefs on Sunday night. We got about 30 minutes to kick off, so I'm probably going to wrap this up here shortly. Just want to thank everybody for coming in. Good to see a lot of my members come in. Good to see y'all and everybody in general. Appreciate the engagement, the conversation, the dialogue. Hopefully this ultimately helps. I will be back on Saturday. I'm thinking about starting a little earlier than I usually do. I usually start at 6 p.m. Eastern. I'm thinking about starting at 5. I will, I'll gauge that, but I might start at 5 Eastern on Saturday. Again, we're in the crunch time of the fantasy season. So I might expand the stream a little bit for more opportunities for people to get questions in, more time and all that good stuff. So just be on the lookout for notifications. If you have notifications turned on for the channel, great. If not, just be aware on Saturday, I may start at 5 Eastern instead of 6 Eastern. And then Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern before the slate. We'll get those last minute start sit questions sorted out. But that will do it for me tonight. Appreciate you guys. Thanks everybody for coming in and hanging out. I will see y'all Saturday. And enjoy the game tonight. Thank you.